I've mentioned before how some of my albums share a lot of connecting tissue. Some of them are direct sequels like Hometown Hero and Hometown Villain. But I don't typically do numbered sequel albums. Um, Even when it comes to my books, they're not numbered sequels, they're titled sequels. Um, so the only thing I think I have numbered sequels for is like the London Season song. So there's the London Season EP, and then there's the London Season song called London Season 1, and then there's London Season 2, 3, 4, and 5, I think. I don't think I did London Season 6. Um, but yeah, those are the only things that are numbered. Everything else is more spiritual successor or, connecting tissue. So when it came time for me to start working on If I Leave It All Right Now, um, I wanted it to feel like a continuation of Bloom and a little bit a continuation of St. John's, but more a continuation of Bloom when it came to, the threads of conversing with Mother Nature and conversing with Mother Nature's daughters and things like that. Um, Even down to the title, um, it was supposed to be another acronym, but I couldn't figure out how to make that acronym make sense the way Bloom did. Um, Bloom, as I stated previously, is Blossom Little One of Mine. And I think If I Leave It All Right Now was Iliarn. Um, and that's not a real word to my knowledge. So I just didn't go with that. Um, but yeah, some of the themes were brought back. I know I did a direct, well, again, not direct, it was more connecting tissue, but on Bloom, there was a song called Peach. And on If I Leave It All Right Now, there's a song called Uvas Frescas or Fresh Grapes. And on Peach, I had Diero do some of the background ad libs. So I brought Diero back in to do the ad libs for Uvas Frescas. And I was just like, yeah, nice little nod to the fact that this is, a follow up album to that. Um, Bloom had a cover, which was my cousin McKenna, and it was her. She had done like some really elaborate makeup, and I overlaid some flowers on it. Tweaked the colors a little bit when I was editing it, and that ultimately ended up being the cover for Bloom. And as I was approaching, like, where do I want to take the album as a whole outside of just, one song or a couple connecting pieces, I was like, well, let me think of, mindset. So when it came to Bloom and blossoming, it was like, hey, you know, step into, what's supposed to be for you, blossom, just live your life, walk into it, grow from it, bloom. And for If I Leave It All Right Now, it was more about me thinking like, hey, if I hang all of this up, you know, and I'm not gonna lie and say that there weren't moments where I was just like, if I hang up everything, if you catch my drift, um, what would the repercussions of that be? But then it was, talk myself off the proverbial ledge, and I was like, okay, what if I just hang up music? Like, if I hang it up right now, if I leave it all right now, what would happen? And that's where everything spiraled from that point. So as I was working on the album, it kind of started turning into a double project where I was coming up with more songs, and I had been self-producing at the time as well, but I just wasn't confident enough to use those beats that I had made. And I just kind of set all of that to the side. But I did end up coming up with an entire title for what would have been the double album version. And that was If I Leave It All Right Now, dot, 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 I'm right where I should be. And that was just making peace with the fact that, you know, looking back on everything that I had done, looking back on the decisions I made, all of it led ultimately to where I needed to be at that moment in my life. Whether that was for myself or for someone around me. I was where I needed to be during that time, for the best outcome. And going back and thinking about what I was going through while I was writing a lot of the songs, I definitely stepped more into my poetic side again, and the weird side with breaking some of my traditional song structuring and maybe throwing in an entire additional verse section or bridge section at the end of the song that had nothing to do with anything else, and just mixing stuff in, just whatever ideas I was having that reflected how I was feeling and reflected what I wanted to convey. I was just it was full send. I wasn't really trying to um hold back any of those ideas or any of those emotions. So the songs very much reflect a very honest and poetic side of things, where coming off of obviously Organized Chaos, that was more of a challenge, and it was just a fun project to make. Going into If I Leave It All Right Now, it was definitely back to business. Like, okay, allow my uh I don't want to say real artistry, because I do feel like my fun songs are a part of my real artistry as well. But I'm just going to call it my baseline of poeticism and expression. It was, again, time to step back into that. So after juggling with songs for a bit, I did this one a little backwards. I definitely had the title ready, um, but my artwork was still kind of hit and miss. I think I had maybe 3 to 5 different versions of the cover for If I Leave It All Right Now, because I just couldn't decide how I wanted it to go. Um, I had reached out to, I believe she works in film, and her name is Jaleese. And I asked her if I could use one of her photos. I had saw her on Instagram, and I really liked the photo she had posted. And I was like, I have an idea for that. So I used that photo with her permission, and I made multiple different versions of the art. And I remember going, I was asking my coworker, she's older, she's like an aunt type figure. And I remember asking her, I asked my mom, my siblings, I was just like, hey, I need all of your opinions on which one kind of, captures the essence of this project the best. And the version that went up obviously is the one everybody decided on. And I'm glad that I didn't stick with the initial one. I feel like the initial versions looked somewhat immature, excuse me, somewhat immature. I was trying to incorporate some words, or, just text for the title of the album. But I was like, no, I don't need to put my name on the front. I don't need to put 1033 on the front. I don't need to put the title on the front. It's just going to be self-explanatory. And I just, full send. I went with it like that. So it was just, it was a lot of juggling when it came to If I Leave It All Right Now, and deciding, do I want to make this a double album? Do I want to keep it single? Do I want to do this with the art? And I felt like I was having conversations that I normally didn't have. Not where I was second guessing myself, but I was in the mindset of, I feel like I'm getting better, so I need to make sure that I don't, um, is it digress? No, I don't revert. Wow, I've been doing these too long. I got to get some rest. But I was trying to make sure that my skill level didn't revert. I didn't want to put out a project that felt like it was so much worse than everything else that I had put out over the recent years. And I was starting to let those thoughts kind of creep in and affect how I was creating. So I think having the conversations with the other artists around me, because going forward, it was never a whole lot of features that I had to begin with, but definitely during this stretch, it was kind of like, okay, I'm really locked in. If you can't, um, if you can't get on the song or anything, I'm not gonna stress it. But I'm also not gonna delay my project just because you can't get on it. So the conversations that I had with a few of the artists while I was creating it, it did end up with me and Pop having the discussion about expanding 1033. And ultimately I did. After these conversations, we kind of played around with the ideas of a few artists, and I think we did four. We did four. And it was Grace, Mia, Trail 224, and Slim Haley. And fast forward a little bit, 1033 is back down to just me, really. Pop is still 1033, but I've also been helping him build his own companies for the things that he's trying to do. So, it's kind of just back to me. Everybody else kind of has their own thing going. It's not like, oh, they're kicked off the label type thing, but Haley, I helped her start Spilling Tea Entertainment, which is her company. Trail 224, he started 224, I don't know if it was 224 Records or 224 Reckless or something, but his own company and stuff. And Grace had her own thing going with the music she was making and the collaboration she was doing. So it just kind of worked best to just kind of clean slate. And if there were any collaborations that came in the future, they would come, and it wouldn't have to be that they were a part of 1033. It would just, just be because we're friends or whatever. So overall, if I leave it all right now, again, you probably get tired of hearing me say this, but special place in my heart. Because of, I feel like that comes from me putting so much honesty and genuine experience into these songs, where it's almost like nostalgia a little bit, because I'm able to put myself back into that moment and go, oh man, I remember when I was going through this. I remember when I felt this way. And it's not just like hearing songs where it's not just like, oh, I'm trying to make a radio song and that style of song is old. Now it's much more, what do you call it? Now it's much more of a sense of like, this is just Cameron and these are his songs. And I feel like as I've been progressing, I kind of started to remove that timetable from them, where it's like you can listen to any of these songs at any point in time and it'll just be you're listening to a good song. You're not listening to a song from this decade or from this decade, So yeah, I'll play a song from If I Leave It All Right Now, and then transition into discussing Right Where I Should Be. I feel like it just makes sense to put them in the same episode, since originally they were going to be a double album, and now they were just, a prequel and a sequel, both tied to Bloom. So here's a song from If I Leave It All Right Now.
Show my truest self in front of y'all. If I get an ultimatum, then I'm done with y'all. Something about this tasting funny, dawg. So I'm saucing like I'm undercover brother, dawg. This a wine dine sitch, this a prime time glitch. Wanted peaches, now I'm plucking off a vine like this. This a wine dine sitch, this a prime time glitch. Wanted peaches, now I'm plucking off a vine like this. I know I make it look simple, thoughts are becoming a simple. Questions I had in the past are happy, I'm lonely, I wanna rekindle. I wanna nurture the flame, I wanna lessen the pain. I wanna nurture the soul, happiness grows in the rain. Thinking it over, it's a good thing my life been sober. Thinking about when my dreams get closer, will I ever try to get that closure? What if I fail and I turn to the pills? What if I die and I don't write a will? Look in the vineyard and notice the grace of reflections of everything that I feel. I know I've been lacking in my confidence. I still don't know how to take a compliment. No one that I can blame, this is my consequence. These grapes are the signs of my incompetence. Scared to show my truest self in front of y'all. If I get an ultimatum, then I'm done with y'all. Something about this tasting funny, dawg. So I'm saucing like I'm undercover brother, dawg. This a wine dine sitch, this a prime time glitch. Wanted peaches, now I'm plucking off a vine like this. This a wine dine sitch, this a prime time glitch. Wanted peaches, now I'm plucking off a vine like this. I say that I'm fine, but I'm jealous. I hope that it was gonna get better in time. Easy to cover the things that I'm missing, but harder to soften the vine. Most of my life I've been working for something that feels like I'm wasting my time. Now I'm invested, I'm seeing it through. Will I ever escape from my mind? First hug I had in a minute was Abby while trying to look for a pop. Fighting fighting the urge to end it all. That moment, the reason I stopped. I should be prospering, counting my blessings and blooming. Why did I flop? I guess it's because I'm a human and all of us fighting to sit at the top. I know I've been lacking in my confidence. I still don't know how to take a compliment. No one that I can blame, this is my consequence. These grapes are the signs of my incompetence. Scared to show my truest self in front of y'all. If I get an ultimatum, then I'm done with y'all. Something about this tasting funny, dawg. So I'm saucing like I'm undercover brother, dawg. This a wine dine sitch, this a prime time glitch. Wanted peaches, now I'm plucking off a vine like this. This a wine dine sitch, this a prime time glitch. Wanted peaches, now I'm plucking off a vine like this.
After seeing the response for If I Leave It All Right Now, it made me feel a little more confident to dive into my self-production a bit more. And I did hold off on it a little bit. I didn't immediately release right where I should be. I think it was a few months in between, but it gave me the time to polish up the production and really just, place that bet on myself. Like I've been paying people for beats for years. I probably spent, 20, 30, 40, I don't know. I've probably spent tens of thousands of dollars on beats over the years. And not because I was making a bunch of money, just because, especially in my younger years, before I had, like bills, I was getting paid every week when I was like 17, 18, 19, 20. And I didn't really have a whole lot of bills other than like, car and cell phone and things like that. So I was just investing in my craft. I was paying for beats, paying for licenses, equipment, things like that. And at this point, I was just kind of like, I'm not really, I work for the education system. It's not like I get paid a whole lot. And I was kind of like, it'll be so much more cost effective if I start producing for myself. Like, yeah, I might still get a beat here and there if it's one that I really love, or if, it's somebody I know personally and I'm just, paying them because I want to support their business. But yeah, going into self-production, it really opened up an entire new lane, because it was like, I'm having to come up with these ideas completely from start to finish. So making the beat and deciding what direction I'm going to go with that. And then sitting with the beat for a while and writing the songs out and making them make sense, not just thematically with the beat, but then making sure all the beats felt like they belonged on the same project. So it opened up a whole new direction of creativity for me that I had not experienced before. Because before I could just purchase a bulk of beats from the same producer or a couple different producers that collaborated together, and just kind of scroll through and go, yeah, this sounds like this sounds like this sounds like this. And, boom, I'm done. Now I just have to write the songs and engineer the songs, but you know what I mean. At this point, it was, hey, you gotta lock in. You gotta get every step done. You forget to do these steps, that's it. And mind you, for many of the years prior, I had just been doing a lot of vocal mixing. I hadn't really been mixing the beats, because when I would get the beats from the producers, some of them would send me stems and the stems would already be mixed a bit and I didn't really have to do too much. Some of them would send me stems and the whole thing would be unmixed. And I was just like, I don't feel like doing all that. I'm just going to use the mixed down wave file. And once I started making my own, it was like, hey, you got to start mixing these beats, start, editing these beats, doing every single step and, not cutting any corners. And that, in my mind, pushed me forward in a way that I don't think I would have gotten pushed otherwise. Like I mentioned in a previous episode, Pop Casso had also started getting into self-production. And I think the only reason I, evolved so quickly from hating my self-production to using it on an album was because I was so focused on making sure I was helping him whenever he had an issue that I was inadvertently teaching myself all the same stuff. So if he had an issue with his SP, okay, let me try and help you figure out what's going on. Let me look at some YouTube videos. Let me send you some information, whatever. If he had an issue in Logic, if he had an issue with TrackLib, or he had an issue with, I don't know, Arcade, whatever tool it was, if he had an issue with that, we were trying to figure out the issues together. So I was teaching myself the stuff at the same time we were trying to, troubleshoot what was going on for him. So looking back at it, I want to say I did maybe half the songs for this one. I didn't go crazy. I still had some beats from Tone. I think I had a beat from Pop as well. And I think I did maybe, 6 or 7 of the other songs on this album. And overall, I think it turned out really great. And it meant so much to me that one of my songs that I produced and wrote, and my cousin was featured on it in a voice note, and it ended up being one time it was on a radio show, and one time it was in like a live stream contest, and it was up against a song from 22 Jacks, and I think I won one round, I lost one round. It's all good either way. It was just nice to know, like, hey, this song is me start to finish. The cover art for that song, I remember, was a note that my mom had written me, and I used it as the cover art for that song. And I'm just like, yeah, this one it's just Cameron London start to finish. And that felt good for me, knowing that I was being received well in, honestly, my most vulnerable state, I felt, which was hearing a beat that I made. And I'm rapping over it. Like, I can rap over stuff. I'm fine. I'm confident in my skills to rap. But at this time, I was still very shaky on if my production was any good. That's always been, my Achilles heel when it came to, my artistry as a whole. But everything about this album, from, me making a gospel influenced song with my mom, shout out Shantae. She sung on that one for me as well. To making a song with my cousin Darion, not Diero, but Jeff Bezos Darion, and calling it, Carolina Reapers, just, the layers to it, both the Reaper Pepper and then Reapers as, the Grim Reapers. It was such a fun project to make. And it was also like, yeah, man, I'm really trying to step into this. I do have delusions in terms of success, because I keep a little bit of delusion, because if you don't, you won't, push yourself to the next level. Like, you gotta believe in yourself almost to a delusional point. But I say that, but I also understand I don't have these delusions of grandeur where I think that I'm something that I'm not. I just think that I have the capability to get where I want to go. And this project was the first one that really showed me, like, yeah, you can do that. You can produce it, you can write it, you can engineer it, you can put it, you can do every single step, and it turn out well, and people receive it well. There was even a song on here that I did with one of my students, Macy. And she, she's a multi-instrumentalist, great singer. I think she's like, I don't know, she might have only been 10 when we made this song, because it's been a couple years at this point. And I remember when we were having the conversation and I first found out she was making music and stuff, she had invited me to one of her performances at the Lazy Pirate, and, went out there, sat, enjoyed some music from all the other kids that were singing and stuff. But I was like, well, do you want to be on a song? And she was like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah, I'll bring my stuff to school. When we got a, few minutes and we don't have anything to do, we can record the song. So it was me, Macy. I think Grace came in there. I think it was the teacher, Miss Grace. She came with us. And I think it was maybe 1 or 2 more students. And we went to an empty classroom when we had a few downtime time. Like we had a little bit of downtime and we recorded, what is it? What is the name of that song? Man, I cannot think of the name of that song to save my life. Hold on. It was Almost There. So we record Almost There at the school. I brought my laptop, I brought my microphone, and that song we just recorded in school. And, you know, it turned out so great. And it was one of those moments where it was just like, this is the type of stuff that makes being a musician and makes, you know, all the effort that I put in over the years worth it. Because at that time, Macy is only a couple years younger than I was when I first started. And she had already, been playing. She had already learned like guitar. I think she had been playing, what was it? She plays a few instruments. I can't remember all of them. She had been singing. So she had already been doing this stuff. So she got an even earlier head start than me. And it was so great to see her reaction to, being on a recorded song, because she had done a lot of live performances, but she hadn't had a lot of, studio time. So having her on that song, and we sat there, I showed her how to edit the song. And her favorite part of the song is when I did the vocal chops at the end. She was like, "Oh yeah, do more of that. I like the way that sounds." So that was fun. And, I've always told her, as long as she invites me to her performances and stuff, I'll show up. I love supporting my students that I've had over the years in all their artistic and business endeavors and things like that. And as far as I'm concerned, she will always have an open invitation to 1033 whenever. Like if she gets older and she ever needs my help for music stuff or whatever, she's got it. No problems about it. She's actually even the voice of my, I think Cam made this one. She's the voice for that tag, and she hates it. Mind you, it's because it's, what is now a teenage girl listening to her elementary school voice. And I'm just like, nah, I'm not going to change it. This is what we agreed upon. You got paid for this, dude. And she's like, oh, please let me do it again. And I was like, no, I like this one. So everybody's already gotten accustomed to this one. I don't want to change it up. Maybe I'll change it up in like another decade. So after the end of like 2034, going into 2035, then I'll be like, yeah, okay, sure, we could change it. But yeah, overall, great project. From a personal standpoint, it motivated me to, take that step into being a producer. And I explored the realm of producing for other people, and I've done a few songs for other people, but just making beats aimlessly and throwing them on the beat site and trying to do that, I just felt like that wasn't for me, because I'm already trying to market me as an artist. And then, I'm still an engineer, and now I'm a producer. And it was just getting too much to try and market fully and devote time fully into all three of these areas. And I felt like if I was going to devote time to one of them fully, I wanted it to be me as an artist, because I felt like that was the area that I slacked off on the most. And not slacked off like I didn't do the work and I wasn't consistent, but I always felt like I put other people's artistry before myself, where if I had ideas for a song, but somebody needed a studio session, I'm like, oh, well, I'll just do mine tomorrow and I'll worry about them. Or if somebody needed me to, engineer something or make something down or, all stuff like that, I always put myself second. So this was when I was like, okay, I need to start, really that same level of belief and push that I put behind everybody else. I felt like it was time for me to, give myself some of that same treatment. There's for me to be such an uneventful person when it comes to the recording of projects, there's always so much that I have to talk about once I sit down in front of this microphone to discuss them. And it happens. I think I mentioned it before. Every time I get ready to end the episode, I always think of something else. And I was thinking about how one of my favorite songs on this project is Unrequited. And initially I wrote that song with the intention of Mia singing the hook. And unfortunately, I think she ended up having some microphone issues around that time, and she recorded it with her headphone mic. And by that time, I had already finished the song. So I did just end up using my solo version, but there is a version with her that I just never finished mixing down because, the album was already set to go. And I was like, well, I don't want to delay it just so I can fix it. And, over time, the solo version with myself grew on me. And I feel like I can't hear it any other way. But I do have the original vocals from Mia's version as well. I'm not going to play it because it's not finished. I wouldn't do that. Because it's completely raw and nothing's done on that version. But yeah, looking back on it, I do think the best decision was splitting these projects up and not making a double disc album. I do think it's great that they feel like they flow so well from Bloom to If I Leave It All Right Now to Right Where I Should Be. That feels like a trilogy of albums to me, even if nobody knows that they're a trilogy of albums. They connect so well, and it's just like boom, boom, boom. I feel like you can listen to them one after the other, and it just feels complete. So allow me to play a song from Right Where I Should Be, and that will be the end of the episode.
I have every reason to pray that my whole world change, and I have every reason to leave my dreams out in the rain. I have every reason to pray that my whole world change, and I have every reason to leave my dreams out in the rain. After all of this time, I'm still finding love in the rhymes and stories to tell about it. Even when I was at death's door, I was healing, but I was lost without it. Too many moments of helping the people that never be wishing me well. Ever since 2013, I swear I've been climbing my way out of hell. Now I find joy in teaching, count the goals that I'm reaching. Get no support from the very same people I made the mistakes of believing. Hustling every season, sweating with tears when I'm bleeding. Don't put no energy into the people that's hating on me for no reason. Yeah. I'm crafting a masterpiece. Hope my parents proud of me for building 1033. Swore that I would make it farther than I ever go, and I'm almost there. When I make it, I'll let you know. I have every reason to pray that my whole world change, and I have every reason to leave my dreams out in the rain. I have every reason to pray that my whole world change, and I have every reason to leave my dreams out in the rain. Nothing got checked off my list till I was 26. Ain't no telling where I'll reside when I turn 29. Piece the broken piece that I'll fix. Can't let my soul divide. All my dreams and my nightmares began to coincide. But I chose to be the road that grew without its thorns. Sing God's grace, I'm surviving through the greatest storms. Was I born to be a rapper that the people mourn? I say my prayers cause I know no weapon ever forms against me. Life is a marathon but I sprint, trying to reach the furthest of places I ever been. Ain't even about all the money I know I spent. Now I'm just proud of knowing I never quit. I have every reason to pray that my whole world change, and I have every reason to leave my dreams out in the rain. I have every reason to pray that my whole world change, and I have every reason to leave my dreams out in the rain. Things get worse before they get better. 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 I have every reason to pray that my whole world change, and I have every reason to leave my dreams out in the rain. I have every reason to my whole world change. And I have every reason to leave my dreams out in the rain. I have every reason to pray that my whole world change. And I have every reason to leave my dreams out in the rain. I have every reason to pray that my whole world change.